Hello, hi everyone, it's Melissa here from Morva Crafts. Hope you're all doing okay. I'm bringing you a video today using some products from Gina K Designs and Whimsy Stamps, all available at my website, Morva Crafts. I'm based down in Truro in Cornwall, beautiful part of the world, beautifully sunny outside, and I'm inside crafting, staying out of the heat for a little bit. So what are we going to be using today? We're going to be using some Gina K Designs blue denim cardstock with the Whimsy Stamps portrait frames die set, the comics designer paper, and the stamp set Always Reach for the Stars. So we've got GCSE results coming out in a couple of weeks' time. So this card's going to be a shaker card for someone who has hopefully done well with their exams. So what else are we going to need? Some acetate, some holographic stars, I think, from Gina K Designs to go inside the shaker, and obviously we need to colour our owl in. Have to decide on a sentiment and pop it all together. So let's get crafting. Okay, we're going to start with some stamping. So I've got my Misty here. It has a double background grip matting from Gina K. Personally, I just can't get on with the magnets, so I find this works really well. We're going to pop our card in, and you'll have seen from the intro I've already stamped my owls, but I'm going to do them again so that I can show you to camera. But also, whenever I craft, I try and make multiples of things like stamped images or sentiments, so that when I don't have so much time to craft, I can quite often pull a card together on things that are already in the pockets, which is helpful to me. So we're going to emboss today. One of the things I do like to do when I'm colouring is to emboss. It just means that the lines are a little bit thicker and I can't really go out the lines. So first of all, we're going to add some white powder. That's going to help our embossing powder stick just to the image, not to the bits where we don't want it. So we're going to get our stamp, and I'm going to use the little chap here. Could be a boy, could be a girl, doesn't really matter. I'm going with that one because he's holding the little scroll, which I think is lovely. And as I say, I've already stamped my sentiments and things, so I would do those here too. So we're going to pick them up with the door. Excuse the squeak, I still haven't got rid of it. It's on my list, like lots of other things. Might get around to it eventually. So we're just going to ink that up with some Versamark or whatever black ink you prefer. And we'll get him stamped out. He's probably going to need a couple of goings over, just because I've only used him once before. I'm not very good at conditioning my stamps, and his eyes are obviously a solid black, so I do want to make sure I transfer all the ink. I'm also probably a little bit impatient. What you should really do is give time for the ink to settle into the cardstock. But I'm not very good at that. Oh, just missed a bit on his eye there. There we go. I might just give that one more. It looks like I've got a bit of cat hair or something just on his eye. Perfect. And then we're going to get our clear embossing powder and dip the image in that. Apologies for the noise on that. That was probably quite noisy. And in here I've just got clear embossing powder, so we're just going to cover him over. Give it a little tap, that'll get rid of any excess. And there we go, he's all stamped. I'll clean up my stamp, then pop the image under the heat gun to melt that embossing powder, and then I'm going to use my scan and cut to cut around the image, just because I hate fussy cutting, and this one doesn't have a die. Back in a second. Okay, so we have our owls cut out and sentiments ready. I haven't cut those out yet because I haven't decided how the card's going to come together. So I'm going to pop those to one side while I have a little think about how that's going to work and how I want to colour the owl in. I'm going to bring in some cardstock. So as I said, my card base is going to be made out of blue denim from Gina K. I'm going to cut that first so that I can then use the leftovers to cut out the first frame. So these sheets are 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to cut it at 5.5 on the long side. And that'll give me 2 pieces, one of which I can fold in half and use for the card blank. The other one I can use to cut out a frame. Obviously, to make it into a card blank, we're going to have to score it. So I've got a very dirty, tatty looking scoreboard here. Just going to pop it at the top along the long side and score at 4 1/4. That gives us our card blank, and as I said, gives us a piece left over ready to cut a frame out. I'll probably cut that in half also. That will give me a card panel and one to cut a frame out of. Okay, so I was just trying to do the noisy bit off camera there. I've taken the frames out of the packaging. Once I'm done, personally I like to store them in the Altenew storage pockets for the Whimsy stamps and the Pyjama Crafter stamps, and then my Gina K go into the Gina K pockets. In terms of how I then store dies inside those pockets, I just pop them in this little plastic bag. I did used to use the magnetic panels, and I still do for some sets. It depends on the set, but you can soon find that those magnetic sheets get heavy. So for those dies, something like this, there's only a couple. I don't need them laid out. I pop them in there. For something like the Gina K alphabet or number die, they're on the magnetic sheets. So we've got our portrait frame on our blue denim, and we're going to cut that out. So I'm just going to attach it. Hope you could hear me then. I'll have to play that back and see if you can hear me when I'm reaching down for tape. I can always move the tape. So I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to cut a white one out as well, because I'm going to slightly offset them. But I will also need to cut several layers, probably of the white one, to build up my shaker window. You can of course use foam tape, nothing wrong with that, and if you use the Altenew tape, that's not sticky on the side, so your shaker bits don't stick to it. I just like to build up the layers, that's just my personal preference. So I'll get that cut on my inch cut, 3 or 4 layers out of the white one, and then we'll have a look how that's coming together. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut out 6 white in the end, 7 white and a blue. I've got my card blank. I've cut out a white piece of card that's 4 and 5 and somewhere between 1/2 and 1/4. I must have been slightly out on my card base maybe, or slightly out on the white. So it's somewhere in between. To add that on, then I'm going to pick one of these papers. So these are the Whimsy Stamps comics papers, and as you can see there's 24 sheets, and they're double-sided with a different image back to front. So you've got the full set along here. Just trying to decide which one I want because they're all so brilliant. I think maybe the blue stars. Let's have a look. Not the solid stars. So that might be on the other side. So I just quickly flick through. Oh, that one. Oh, that one. No, I'm not sure. I do quite like that with the sun rays, but I also quite like that. And of course you could also make your own. I think I'm going to go with that one. There we go. So we'll pop those to one side, and in all honesty how I usually actually end up measuring, oh, which way did I want it? Not that it really matters. I think that way. So I actually normally sit it on my card and then just mark with a pencil. Now I need to make a cut. So I'll cut that. That will go on there. Then we're going to have a blue layer, and we're going to have lots and lots of white layers. Which will go together once they've been stuck together. At the moment they're all just falling inside each other. It's not particularly helpful. And I may well have some upside down. Looks like I have. So they're going to go maybe like that. And then we have our owl, wherever I've put him. He's flown off somewhere. Here he is. He's going to sit down the bottom. A few shaker bits inside. Maybe something in that top corner. Not quite sure. I'll get to cutting and come back to you in a second. Before I cut away, I should have said I'm also going to stick these together. So all I'm doing is taking the white layers, going around with the glue, picking up my next one and popping it on top. Just pressing it down all the way around, making sure it's adhered. And then once I've finished, I'll pop it under a block or something, just to give it a minute or two to stick together. So I'll keep doing that until I've done all the layers, but not the blue and not my final. Very important, otherwise we'll have to cut another layer out because there won't be one for the top. Okay, so I have that under my block, and then the other thing I'm going to do is adhere this pattern paper. Obviously you don't have to use pattern paper, you can make your own. There's lots of videos available how to do that. You could use plain cardstock, lots of choices. You could use a background stamp, that would look quite cool. There we go. You could add dimension if you wanted to. This one's always going to be fairly high because of my frame, and I'm really tempted to put him on a spinner. I don't know, I might. Okay, so then I'm going to adhere this one, and I just want it slightly offset. I put a post on YouTube a few days ago. I'm very much a straight line sort of person, but I tried a wonky frame and I really liked it. So I'm going to do another one. So that's just showing you how it's going to look. But actually what we're going to do is pick up our lots of layers, put those down, add in our shaker bits, pop on our acetate, and then top with our last layer. I'll go and find some acetate. We'll get that cut. So you can obviously use the die to cut it out. We've got all these offcuts from the inside, so I'm going to just cut a piece very slightly bigger than the inside of the card. I'm not going to use this one, this is precious. I'm going to pop that back in the packet, blue denim. I'm going to use one of my white ones. When for this card, I'm actually going to make it twice. So the one I'm making for you here is for a friend, and then I've got another one for a family member, and I'm going to put a photograph inside because how awesome would that look? There we go. Okay, let's get to that. I'm just going to show you how I'm going to adhere the acetate. So as I said, I've cut it out just using the white piece as a guide and just made it slightly bigger. It's going to sit atop our stack of frames, and I'm just going to put some red liner tape around to attach it. You can use glue, it'll just take longer to dry. I am using this red liner tape, which is cheap and, to be honest, awful. Takes me forever to get it off, but once I've done, I'll then switch to the Altenew double-sided tape, which I stock, and will hopefully be a lot easier to use. So I won't make you sit through watching me attaching this. Essentially, I'm going to cut 4 pieces, pop it on there, peel off the backer, then pop my acetate on, and then that will all be covered up by our final frame layer. Okay, let's adhere these bits together. So we've got our first panel to go on, popping that on our card base. Pressing that down, just double checking, haven't managed to turn the card base around and it's going on the wrong way around. And we've got our blue denim frame, popping some glue on that one. For anyone that's wondering, this is the My Sweet Petunia glue press, and it is fantastic. If you struggle with squeezing a glue bottle at all, it is brilliant. So I'm just going to pop that one down. It doesn't matter if it goes slightly over the edges because there'll still be room in the envelope. Not worried about that at all. And then we've got this one. Before I put that down, I need to get my shaker bits. So bear with. Holographic stars, I think. Won't they look amazing? Just look at that. I'll just find a pot to put them in. Here we go, just so you can see them. Don't actually need a pot, I could have brought them straight into the card. What I am going to do is I got myself these twisty pots, sequin storage, so I can start putting them in here in an attempt to organise. Okay, we're just going to pull those into the middle. Just realised the only thing I still haven't thought about is the sentiment. If I need that in the card, inside the shaker, that's going to be fun now. I'll have a little think. Probably have to pause you a minute, have a little think, decide what to do. What I'll definitely do is glue a couple of these stars down, so that way, even when it's stood up on a shelf, you'll still have some sparkle right at the top. Okay, I've had to think. I'm going to have a sentiment at the top, this top corner. Owl at the bottom corner. It should be brilliant. So we're going to put down a few of those stars. You could obviously use any embellishments of your choice, whatever you have in your stash. Move out of the way so I don't put it in my arm again. And you can add a few or as many as you want. I'm not sure I've got it right yet with the shaker. It's either too many, too little. But we keep trying. I think I'm a little bit obsessed with shaker cards at the moment. Might need a few more, I think, definitely. Picking up a few more there. That's okay. We probably could do some slightly bigger stars too, couldn't I? But we're going to go with this now. Oops. Helps if you pick the star up. Oh, he's already glued. So as I said, it's just really so that if you stand the card up, you've still got some sparkle. There we go. I might just put a few more in. I want it to shake. Probably didn't want that many, but there we go, we have now. So we're going to attach our white frame. The key thing is that it's really well attached. We don't want any of those shaker bits falling out. So that would certainly make a mess. So I'm going to put plenty of glue on, and then I can sit my block on it and just let it sit for a minute to make sure it's really well adhered. I could have put some of the powder on the acetate, whose name escapes me, the white powder that you put down when you're embossing, and that's supposed to help the sequins not stick to the acetate, but I'm not really worried. There we go. And we've got our top layer. That just covers up that mess from the tape. Helps if you get it the right way around. There we go. And pop our blocks on. Perfect. So what have we got left to do? Colour this owl in and cut out a sentiment. I'm going to colour offline because I'm not a confident colourist, if that's the word, and I'm not quite sure how I'm colouring them yet. So I'll go away and come back. Okay, and welcome back. I've been away, I've done some colouring. Oh, the sun's come out, or the sun's come round, I should say. The sun's been out all day. So here he is. And basically what I did was went onto Whimsy Stamps website had a look at their photographs. They had so many cards there using this owl for inspiration, and I picked out the bits I liked and coloured him in. And I cut out the sentiment just into a plain rectangle, backed it on to the card that had come out of the centre of the frame to pop on there. I think that looks super cute. Shall I make him spin? That's my only question. I'm really tempted, but I don't know if he look a bit daft. It would look cool though, wouldn't it? I've got some spinners, but they're quite thick. That's the only thing, it would raise him up quite a lot. I've got a small number of these that I could actually put on the website, and I have some coming from Pyjama Crafter Stamps with my new order. So that will raise him up quite a lot, but he would spin. I could put it in a box. 'Tis special. I think I'm going to do it. Bear with. So I said bear with because I wasn't exactly sure how they worked. It does seem to be a case of glue on the top, glue on the bottom, stick it where you want it. I daren't touch it. I could have used tape. I guess that would have stuck straight away. Right now I need it to dry because I have used glue. So I'm going to leave him alone for a little bit. I'm going to sort out my storage, and then we should be able to give him a spin, see if he works. So as I said, from a storage point of view, personally I use these Altenew storage pockets for Whimsy Stamps and Pyjama Crafter Stamps. I don't tend to keep the original packaging anymore, just because you can't keep it all, and it's just a bit of plastic. And this will come in great for a shaker window at another point on another card. So we can chuck that out the way. I've removed the sticky tape from the piece of card. Not that you need to know how to do this, but pop those in while we wait for that glue to dry. And there we go. What I will do is make a label for the pocket with the name on. So, ooh, hopefully he's okay. Ooh, you can see him going. He's not very well glued yet, but you can see he's going to spin beautifully. There we go. Actually, I'm not going to wait anymore. There we go. We might as well just try it now. Whoop, whoop. Hope you like. Oh, I probably should have weighted him a bit better so that he stays up. His glue is definitely not dry. He's moving around all over the place. I'll fix that. Okay, so I fixed him. Hopefully you can still see with the sun comes round for about 10 minutes. So it's currently just coming through the window. All I've done is moved the spinner so that it's just behind his eyes, and that's means bleh, start again. That means that when he spins, he's got more weight at the bottom, so he's always going to settle back in that stood up position as such, the right way around. And there we go. How cool is he? Obviously he's not stood up at the moment, but if we do pick him up, you can see he'll always right himself. How cool is that? I think one of my new favourite things. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given you some inspiration to go away and have a go at something yourself. And I hope to see you all again soon. Bye.